Guys, welcome to Double Shot of Steelers. I'm Dejan Kovacevic. He's Chris Halleck. We're from DK Pittsburgh Sports. We're covering an ongoing coaching staff search, and that staff seems to solidify a little bit more with every passing hour today.
Seriously.
Mike McCarthy and the team have put out some announcements that have firmed up some fairly known hires. There are still some that are missing. Obviously, including one really prominent one in offensive coordinator. We're going to see how that goes. But first, we're going to remind you that at the FanDuel Sportsbook, everybody is in playoff mode. You go to that place right now, whether it's their app or their site, and you see playoff mode, giant letters. This is their time of year. Go and enjoy it. Go and embrace it. If you feel like you've got some conviction in pretty much anything related to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. Line is holding steady at 4.5 in favor of the Seahawks. Over-under is holding steady at 45.5 points. But again, it's not just that. There are all kinds of Super Bowl props to bet on. You can bet for somebody as specific as Marcus Jones to score a touchdown for the Patriots, or somebody is, or you can You can bet that that both Sam Darnold and Drake May will each complete a pass of 20 or complete 25 plus passes.
No way.
Yeah, it's right here. It's plus 2,000 odds. Both Sam Darnold and Drake May each complete 25 plus passes.
Well,
I'm telling
that would put the over in jeopardy. That's for sure.
It would. It would.
Was the over 45 something?
Yeah, and then it doesn't just end with the Super Bowl. The awards are also going to be happening this week. You can bet on the awards, all of them.
That means the General League awards.
Yeah,
not just Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, you got the league's MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive and Defensive Rookies of the Year. Some of those are pretty, slam dunk, but you can still bet just in case. Like, for example, I betted. Man, I
I'm
voted.
Sure, that's wrong.
No,
voted is
for the PFWA awards. I voted for Puka Nacua to win Offensive Player of the Year. Jackson Smith and Jigba is the favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year, so that one might be a little tight. But there are some. That where it seems like it's a slam dunk. But either way, no matter what you want to bet, FanDuel's got it all.
Yeah, check out the FanDuel Sportsbook for all of your betting needs. The Steelers have put together. Well, let's just go through them here.
Yeah, so 3 coaches were added to the staff officially today. These are not like it's being reported or these are announced by the team. They are official. Jason Simmons has been working under Dan Quinn and the Commanders for the past couple of seasons. He is now the new defensive backs coach and defensive pass game coordinator. So that is a new role that we have not seen for the Steelers.
And previously. That we were hoping mutually here that they would be adding because the calendar shows 2026.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Steve Scarnecchia has been added as a chief of staff, and we can explain what that is here in just a minute. And then Scott McCurley has been retained, the official first coach retained from Mike Tomlin's staff by Mike McCarthy. I know there's been some noise out there about Tom Arth staying on or anything. Initially, there was some noise that Gerald Alexander was going to stay, but
secondary coach,
but he actually took a job with the Vikings.
He did.
So that just because again, it's, there's noise. Oh, that coach is staying. And wait until it's official because this is a very fluid situation. But Scott McCurley retained makes a lot of sense. He's coached a lot of seasons under Mike McCarthy. So, and also a Pittsburgh area guy too.
CJ says supposedly Drake May has a shoulder injury. How do I say this? Everybody has a shoulder injury.
Everybody has something.
Every pitcher, every quarterback who'd undergo an MRI would uncover shoulder damage. So I would never take something like that too seriously until you visibly see that there are impacts related to it. The one hire that I'm probably most looking forward to in a weird kind of way is offensive coordinator, because what I want to see is a designer. I don't want to see. Look, no point getting a play caller. I mean, McCarthy's already made it clear he's going to be doing that.
We got 5 more additions that
Oh,
happened.
here we go.
5 more additions that happened while we were doing our double shot of Penguins. James Campen officially added as offensive line coach. We knew that was going to be happening already. Jari Evans is the new assistant offensive line coach. Ramon Chinyung Sr., who was coaching on the Cowboys, is the new running backs coach. So not good sign for Eddie Faulkner being retained.
Nah, that's unfortunate.
Adam Henry is, and we already kind of knew this one. Adam Henry has been hired to coach the wide receivers. And like I was just saying, Tom Arth has been retained. So he is now another coach that's been retained off of Mike Tomlin's staff. So that's 2, Arth and McCurley. So some of the, now that's like 8 of these hires that have been made official by the team. So, yeah. We have a staff coming together, but yeah, offensive coordinator is still vacant as of right now.
Well, offensive coordinator is the one that has me the most interested, because I think it's the one place, like, you needed whoever it was that you were going to get at DC, and obviously it ended up being Patrick Graham, was going to have to be someone who could be that alpha male on that side of the football, because McCarthy is an offensive guy. It doesn't mean he's not going to be involved, defense and so forth. But I'm sorry, when you're play calling during an active NFL game, there's no way your sensibilities can be split like that.
And that's usually why offensive coaches usually have a lot more guys on their staff handling. They have to delegate more.
They have to delegate. And Graham is going to be a de facto assistant head coach, as I see it.
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking about who's second behind McCarthy, because McCarthy's calling the actual plays, I want it to be someone who's creative, who's got some imagination, some innovation to them. That's the kind of individual that I'm looking for.
Well, Steeler Girl brings up Scott Tolzien and asks, when's he being interviewed? The answer to that question is today. If it's not already happened by now, he was supposed to interview today. And I think he's a very interesting name in this. And if I can like interject my personal opinion, I think he's probably the most intriguing guy that could be the offensive coordinator.
Why is that?
Well, he's
a former quarterback.
He's a former quarterback. He played last decade, so he's played in the modern NFL. So he understands the game.
Suited up.
Yeah. Well,
more than he played.
See how many games. Yes. Let's see how many games he played.
Okay.
But he's also 38 years old. So again, you're bringing a fresh perspective. Yeah, he played in 10 NFL games. He threw for 1,065 yards.
Like I said, he's suited up.
He was 0-3-1 as a starter. So, but sometimes the best coaches were not good players. Shoot, Mike Tomlin was not a good player.
And actually, that's the more common path.
Yeah.
It really is across professional sports.
Yeah. But Tolzien has coached under me. He coached under McCarthy all 5 seasons that he was in Dallas. So he's worked with Dak Prescott. Then he went to New Orleans last season and became their quarterback's coach and worked with Tyler Shuck, which is obviously a completely different situation. You're not working with a veteran who's a guy who's going to compete for MVP awards. You're working with a rookie, an older rookie who, did not have a perfect makeup coming out of college. He was a 2nd-round pick, and he had a pretty good rookie season. So I think he's an interesting name here. I really, really do. Not just because of his experience with McCarthy, but also the fact that it's the age, it's playing in the modern NFL, and I think you can blend McCarthy's offensive acumen and then bring in somebody who can probably bring a fresh perspective too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are we excited about this staff? Do we need to be excited about this staff? See, that's one of the things that let me tell you what would have gotten everybody excited. And I mean really excited. Hines Ward would have been the head coach. Antoine Randall. No, I'm being serious.
Yeah.
Antoine Randall would have been your offensive coordinator. James Harrison would have been your defensive coordinator. You get what I'm getting at here. We like familiar names. We like people that we know that we can trust. I'm only partially being facetious here. In the case of Hines and Antoine,
Larry Foote,
they're actual coaches. Yeah, and Larry Foote's a coach. So I'm not dismissing them. I'm just getting at what would make them excited. What ends up happening with these types of situations, these types of announcements, first off, with the new head coach, they come like this, okay? Whereas if they were spread out, like there was one every 2 weeks, we could spend an entire show doing something on the new offensive line coach alone. I can promise you we're going to be doing episodes on the offensive line coach at some stage of the coming summer.
Oh, yeah.
But when they all happen like this and you're seeing the names in a lot of cases for the first time, it's just going to be like, well, I'm not excited about this. Well, you have to be. Well, we just don't. We don't know.
Well, see,
you can read on them, you can learn about them, and everything else here, and then you're still not going to know until you see them in action.
Yeah, that's the other thing too here. For example, a lot of people are really excited, and when I say people, I mean specifically people in Baltimore, but I've even seen some like blogger type people who are really excited about the Ravens hiring Anthony Weaver to be their new defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And Anthony Weaver was the guy who was interviewing for head coaching jobs. He had 2 interviews with the Steelers.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we know that that's going to work? Jesse Minter is a defensive coach.
No idea.
I mean, you can't have too many alphas on a staff. And when I say alphas, I mean true alphas. Like Mike Tomlin would not have been an effective coach, or his coaching staff would not have been as effective if it were full of 18 Mike Tomlins. You need variety. You need different personalities. You need different types of people, different types of coaches. Some guys who are more extroverts and right in there, in your face, and some guys who know how to kind of more lead by physically showing instead of talking. And just, it's funny. Like, it's fun to walk around the practice field, the couple of different practice fields that they use on a given practice
in
day.
Latrobe or here.
No,
here
too.
side. Okay.
To just walk around while they're doing their individual drills and just watch the way the coaches handle their drills.
Yeah, each one's
different.
Because we get close enough, we can literally hear.
Oh gosh, I have to like back up for some of them.
Yeah.
I mean, like Eddie Faulkner's drills were always like off to the sideline, right up against the building. Like you have to be like under the overhang.
Where we're mostly standing.
Yeah.
All the action is at the tight end sleds, by the way. A little pro tip for those of you who become reporters. M. Dot says, what do you guys make of both of the Rams coaches being left out this cycle? Does it change the perspective on the McCarthy hire? It won't change the perspective on the hire because your perspective is formed on perception, and your perception was formed at the time that it happened. So the number of people who, like you, are going to revisit that and say, hang on a second, wait, nobody got Chris Shula or Nate Shieldhouse? Why? And in Shula's case in particular, he's been in that role for, is it 3 years as defensive coordinator? That's not a super long time, but it's not nothing. He's been with the Rams for 7. And there's a knock at his door, and he's got to answer it at some point or other. Shieldhouse had reached the point where didn't he turn down an interview? The Browns?
No, he
had it. He had his.
Yeah, he
took the stupid quiz and everything.
Yeah, listen. I think for Shieldhouse, it probably works out for him. Now, nothing's been official, I don't think, on this end, but Mike LaFleur, their offensive coordinator, went and became the head coach of the Cardinals
just yesterday.
Yeah, so
that was the last hole.
Yes, and so I think that unless McVay wants to go in a different direction, and if he does, that might be in and of itself another message that maybe he's not ready to be a head coach. But you would think that just the easy thing to do there is to promote him from within and make him the new OC. Now, granted, he wouldn't be calling plays under McVay. Obviously, McVay's still going to call the plays in LA, but that's something to watch. Does McVay just bump him up? If he doesn't, what does that say about his perspective as a head coach?
Jack Matthews, good question here. What exactly does a passing game coordinator do? And is there a running game coordinator? The answer to the second question is Yes, there is a run game coordinator. What does the passing game coordinator do? Well, I'll throw this to Chris here, but I'm going to say to start off with, the main emphasis of the passing game coordinator is to make sure that the routes are run. I know that could be the wide receivers coach, but there's an extra element to this that really comes with a more of a play design component than what you get from a wide receivers coach, who really, they aren't involved in play design at all.
Robert
design.
Robert says it pretty good right here. They coordinate the passing game.
Stop that.
No, but what they do more than anything is they will take a closer look. They'll put the offensive game plan under a microscope, not just for what they want to do on their own in terms of the details of the routes and everything like that, but also look at the opponent that's upcoming. What coverages do they use? What coverages do they expect? And they'll look at all of that stuff, and then they'll detail the routes and the concepts particular to the upcoming opponent. So they will coordinate all of that very, very detailed so that there's less room for interpretation by the players.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
Don't overthink this.
Right.
We're telling you to run there.
Yeah. And like, it's funny because, like, I remember whenever, during this entire coaching search thing, there was this ESPN thing that made the rounds as soon as Nate Scheelhaase became a candidate for the Steelers. And ESPN did this thing on drawing plays for Sean McVay, and Scheelhaase was showing like what he was doing, like in terms of like he would draw the route concepts. And this has been something that Sean McVay's been doing, and guys did it for Kyle Shanahan. And they have this own fraternity of, like, Zach Taylor used to do it, and Liam Cohen used to do it. And Matt LaFleur was describing one time. No, Zach Taylor was describing one time where he was drawing plays for McVay and LaFleur. LaFleur was the OC, and McVay was the Rams head coach, and he drew a stick route, which is one of the most basic routes in all of football. And each guy, McVay was telling him to draw it one way, and LaFleur was telling him to draw it another way. And so every time he draw it one way, the other coach would be like, "What are you doing? I told you to draw it that way." And so that's when things get worked out. The coordinator makes sure that they get all the things that can be lost in interpretation. They get it all out of the way. They
It's
get
a lot of
the details
quality
down.
control.
A lot of that.
Maniac says the way things are going, does it seem like this staff is going to end up being bigger under McCarthy? There's a possibility. Remember that we're already mentioning positions that we haven't referenced previously. We're already mentioning a chief of staff.
Let's get to
which
that
sounds
too.
Awfully important for football.
I mean, it sounds really important.
Chief of staff, more quality control.
Yes. So according to the way it was described by the Steelers themselves, Scarnecchia, in his role that he had, which is the same role that he's going to have with the Steelers in this chief of staff role with both the Falcons and the Jets, he was responsible for coordinating the team's daily meetings and practice schedule and the overall football activities calendar. He also established the budget for football operations and scheduling practices.
The budget?
The budget for football operations. That is from the team's website.
The budget.
The budget.
Maybe they mean how he spreads the budget around.
Maybe.
I don't think he says, "Hey, we're going to spend $900 million on football ops this year."
Of course, every hire has to be rubber stamped by the guy who signs the checks.
Frank wants a replay person. Do you see a replay person?
There
have
been
list?
a lot of people already putting replay. Also, first off,
how do you ask? By the way, when we get to this point, how do we ask Mike McCarthy that question without having it come across as if we're challenging him to slam Mike Tomlin's approach to this? What if McCarthy comes back and says, "Why are you asking that?" Well, see, the guy before you would just look at the scoreboard.
So let's actually take a look at this, because these things are tracked. Mike McCarthy, over his 18 years as an NFL coach, has he has challenged 108 times. He's won 52 of them.
And
so
That's good. I don't know what a healthy percentage is.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But he's 152. He's won half.
Okay.
A couple shy of half. Now,
I don't know if that's good or bad or what.
He's also had some seasons where, I mean, shoot, in 2023 he only challenged once and he won it. 2015 he challenged 8 times, he won 5 of them. He's also had some years where he's challenged 6 times and only won once. So the one thing when it comes to that is with a coach that has this much experience, they're usually not going to change much unless they've been in a really, really big rut. Now, I don't know right off the top of my head if he's had a replay person in the past, but I can tell you right now that most staffs have somebody who's watching. Who's watching.
Jeff Cannot Dance, easily one of the better monikers on here, says that the chief of staff sounds basically like a PR guy that handles media relations outreach. No,
that's not what I described at all.
No, that's absolutely not it.
Establish the budget for football operations and scheduling practices, and organized and team and staff events, and provided administrative assistance to the coaching and operations staff.
It's the DB Boys says, how do you convince a player to waive a no trade clause? Really wish you'd attach a name to that. Are you talking about, I don't know, TJ Watt? Who are we discussing here? You, generally speaking, don't have to try very hard to do this. The athlete, and in turn, really the agent, will take the hint that they're not wanted where they are. And it is a game of passion. It's a game of authenticity. And it's a game of, is reciprocity a word?
Yeah, I think
like
so.
Meaning like you reciprocate.
No, I knew what you were saying.
If your team is asking you to go out and put your body and your health and risk a lot when you think about football injuries and so forth every Sunday, man, you want to know that they at least care about you.
Mm-hmm.
And once they tell you that they want to move you, that bridge gets burned. And I don't think any player is comfortable in that. So if that answers your question, DB, I don't know who you're asking about here, if it's somebody in particular.
Well, if it's TJ, he doesn't have a no trade clause.
Yeah, so I don't even know who it is that would have a no trade on this team. Do you?
I can't think of anybody who has one. First off, DK Metcalf forfeited his guaranteed money.
He forfeited. He's at their mercy.
Yeah, he is at their mercy. I mean, they can cut him and only take on.
But that's the answer to that. That's how I've seen it get done. Okay,
Yeah.
You could go to, I think, anybody and say, no matter how tied they are to a franchise, how long they've been around, and say, hey, we don't want you here anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, man, they're not going to want to hang around. They're not going to force that card. Even if they have kids in school or something and they don't want to move, they're not going to do that.
Yeah. Also, the one thing that I would football contracts are a little bit different than other sports.
Yeah, because of the guarantees, right?
Football contracts are not fully guaranteed unless
there's already a mistrust
Yes.
and a lack of reciprocity.
Yeah. So this is not like Major League Baseball or the NHL where these players get certain no trade clauses or modified trade clauses or no movement clauses.
Which is no movement of any kind.
Right. And so it's not the same thing. I'm not saying that there aren't no trade clauses in the NFL, but they are not usually big pieces of the contract for players. Usually, if the things that players want more than anything is just guaranteed money. That's what they'll take more than anything.
Say that. That's all they want.
They want guaranteed money.
Guaranteed money. Marvin Wallace asks DK, does the new offensive coordinator sit up in the booth and stay down on the sideline with McCarthy? He has to stay upstairs. You've got to have an eye in the sky up there. I really believe that.
I would think so, but I would also think that might be, well, first off, that's probably a good question for McCarthy.
Which has not been asked yet.
It has not. But
if
you
have Tolson, who's a former quarterback, man, let's put it this way: Tom Arth is still on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me that Arth is going to remain at ground level,
right?
because he's been the one that's been communicating with these guys. He's the voice that they've heard most often. He's the voice that they're most familiar with. Now, even with a whole new system coming in, and we haven't even gotten into, oh my God, it's all we're going to talk about all summer long when they get to Latrobe, is the new jargon, the new verbiage.
Oh.
We haven't even talked about this
whole
yet.
new offense, guys.
This is the first I've even thought about that.
It's a whole new offense.
But it's a whole new offense. And that means for Mason Rudolph, it's a whole new offense.
Yep.
Never mind Will Howard, and never mind whoever else happens to be here.
That's why I don't think that the Aaron Rodgers thing is not going to last until minicamp, by the way. I don't think that's.
I don't think it's going to even.
No.
I don't think it's going to be anywhere. I think they have to tell him before free agency.
Yeah.
I just don't think, or he has to tell them, whichever way that happens.
And by the way, new head coach means they get extra time for an offseason program. Steelers don't ever have to worry about that, but teams who have a brand new head coach get extended time for offseason programs, which means there's more time together. There's more time to learn playbooks. There's more time for installs and everything like that. So that's another good thing when it comes, if you're wondering, are they going to get everything jam-packed? No, they get extra time. They are granted extra time by the league to do that. But yes, you make a good point. This is a brand new playbook.
Everything, yeah.
The language is going to be, now, McCarthy did say on the defensive side, they're going to try to keep some of the language the same and everything like that. But this is still a brand new defensive coordinator. He is going to, and he's been known to
adapt.
Yeah,
he's good at it.
So that's a good thing for Patrick Graham, but it's still going to be a new defense, and there should be differences that we see, because it's not like this was the number one defense last year.
Mike Kosinski asked, can Peyton Wilson be moved to safety?
No.
Why is that? See how you hesitated? See, I did the same thing. I had the same reaction when I saw Mike's question show up on the screen.
No.
And I thought the same thing. No, you can't do that. And then I thought, well, hang on a second. What's he lacking for that? He considers himself to be really, really, really good in coverage.
For a linebacker.
For a linebacker. He's got elite speed.
For a linebacker.
For a linebacker. What about for a safety?
Listen, changing positions is really easy to do in a video game. It's not that easy. What Jalen Ramsey did last year.
Yeah, he's a freak.
He's a freak. That's not normal.
That's not normal. That's not, you can throw that one right out. But
Patrick Peterson changing positions. You're talking about a young player who still hasn't really mastered his position that he's playing. Now, he does some things really, really well. And yes, he can chase down Jordan Addison in Dublin. That's great. He is, in some ways, a freak of his own. But it's a completely different position. Completely different. It's the same talk when we're talking about moving Nick Herbig from edge.
I don't want to put words into. I don't want to put words into his mouth here, Mike. But my guess is that he's asking because the current inside linebackers, plural, are perceived and quite possibly are not necessarily the best when it comes to stopping the run. I think it's a fair thing to say. I don't think you think of that anybody in general thinks of Patrick Queen as a great run stopper. You don't think of Wilson that way. So what do you do with them? You know, if you have a need, I'm just throwing it out there. That's all. I'm not suggesting it's a good idea.
And see, this is another thing. Dhar 18 says safeties have an average 40 of 4.5 and Wilson at a 4.43. You're only counting foot speed. Like this is what people do. They only count foot speed and think, oh, well, he's just as fast as other
straight
safeties.
Line foot speed. Yeah.
This does not take into play recognition, closing speed, the time that it takes for him to process what's happening, to read the quarterback. Safety play is all about reading the quarterback and making breaks. Like that's what it is the vast majority of the time. This isn't going to
happen. The other thing that gets brought up here by Justin, it's a good point here, is that the green dot is in the equation too. And don't forget, just because PQ has been the green dot guy for a couple of years, that Wilson has been groomed and trained to be a green dot guy. For anybody who doesn't know what the heck a green dot is, it's
you're the quarterback.
Well, you're the interpreter for the quarterback, meaning that the coordinator calls in the play to you. You're the one that has to ensure, get back to quality control, that everybody is where they're supposed to be.
Yep.
From field level.
The one thing I would also say about the inside linebackers, and I've reported this in a Friday Insider, and I'm not just talking about Patrick Wiener, I'm talking about all of the inside linebackers. The Steelers' old system under Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin was not very friendly to inside linebacker play in terms of what they were asking them to do. I had a couple of conversations with players on the defensive side talking about how hard it was for them to do certain things that they were being asked to do. If it's executed perfectly, it works great. But to execute that perfectly took a Herculean effort. Did not make things easily, did not streamline things for guys. That also affects the linebackers play. It affects, and listen, I don't know how many times the linebackers are getting blamed by fans when all I'm seeing is defensive linemen in front of them getting pushed on their butts or getting pushed into the laps of the linebackers.
Friday. This is not a nothing issue here. That might be the central issue for this defense. And that's why, as I was expressing, that as much respect as everybody's had for Carl Dunbar over the years, this was time.
Yeah.
For a change at that position. And on that note, Mike in Texas asks, what's the future of Keanu Benton? I like the kid, but he's definitely been playing outside his position. Now there's a decision that has to be made here by Patrick Graham.
Yeah.
I mean, in conjunction, obviously, with Mike McCarthy, but by Graham probably more than anybody else, as well as, I'm sorry that all these new names escape me, but whoever the new defensive line coach is.
They haven't hired one yet.
They haven't hired. No wonder it escaped me. It never existed.
Yeah, they haven't hired one yet.
But whoever's replacing Coach Dunbar has to come in and say, what do we do with Benton that plays to his strengths instead of constantly putting him into positions where we're trying to make him fit what we want out of that spot on the football field, instead of just saying, how do we just unleash him on the quarterback, get him back there, and then from there, whatever else it is that you need, Chris, from the run stopping standpoint, the not getting bowled over, that's where the new defensive line coach, repeating, does not exist, takes Y.A. Black under his wing and says, this is what we need from you. We saw so many good things from you this year. We also saw some leverage issues. We can't afford to have you become another Big Dan and just get bowled over.
Yep.
We need for you to stand tall, but not that tall.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the one thing that I'm a little concerned about, the only reason I would say concerned is because I don't know what it looks like yet.
Right.
Mike McCarthy said he wants to keep a 3-4 front.
Right.
Well, that means somebody's going to play nose tackle.
Somebody's got to play.
Somebody's got to play it.
Something that resembles nose tackle.
And you have, as of right now, you still have Cam Hayward under contract, and you hope he stays. You hope he stays.
Yeah, obviously.
You have Derek Harmon, who played very well as a rookie. And you have Keanu Benton.
Did not mean to leave him out.
Yeah, and you have Keanu Benton, who I would say took a step forward in year 3. Wasn't perfect.
In a weird
his
kind of
highs,
way.
His highs were much higher.
Were something.
His highs were higher than they had ever been in the first 2 years. That's why I say he took a step forward. It was inconsistent. But whenever he was playing his best, he was a force. And that's what I think the Steelers were initially envisioning with him. So you have something there, and a coach will see that and be like, I know how I can tap into that and get more out of him.
Funny thing about Benton, man, is when he made those big plays.
Yeah.
And I'm going back to Dublin for when he was just penetrating the backfield, Minnesota backfield, like it was nothing. Okay. Not once do you get surprised. Not once do you say, oh, that was Benton. No, you just say, well, yeah, that was Benton. That's what he does. You just wish you would see it more often, and you wish that he wasn't miscast to keep coming back to that. The key to all of this might be either just thoroughly doing away with anything resembling the nose tackle position or the nose tackle expectations. And I don't mean Casey Hampton. I mean anything that's nose tackle based. And just saying, hey, listen, we're gonna go at you with 3 down linemen, principally. We're gonna go at you with Derek Harmon, with Keanu Benton, and we're gonna have Cam Hayward back. And from there, we're gonna work YA Black in. But we're not gonna have any of these guys be a block eater, swallow up 2 bodies. We're going to have more of, and boy, am I not comparing them to this guy, but just in technique or just in approach, like Aaron Donald type guys.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. God, there's no Aaron Donald on this team.
No.
Okay. But AD, one of the reasons that AD was unappreciated, even really at Pitt, was that AD was doing something that didn't make sense to a lot of NFL people. He was a penetrating guy from the middle, and they're thinking, well, we don't have any use for that. We have different visions of what our middle guy should be. And I remember this vividly at the time. And I'm thinking, I covered AD in college. I was still doing some Pitt football at the time. And I remember thinking, I'm totally re-scripting my entire defense for this guy. I couldn't care. If his position never existed, we're just going to call it the Aaron Donald position.
Right.
Well, the Steelers, they're not in a position where they have to do that or need to do that. But at the same time, the defensive line has to move forward.
It does. And the other thing here, and this is where I would want to take Patrick Graham's experience of being adaptable. And listen, if you go through all the free agency and you go through the offseason, you go through the draft, and you don't get yourself a legitimate, unquestioned, undoubted, true nose tackle, why the heck are you trying to play a 3-4 front? That's the other part of this. Why are you trying to do so? Why are you trying to fit a square peg into a round hole?
Are you doing it just because of the edge rushers? Meaning the veteran edge rushers.
Okay, think about it like this, though. When the Steelers were in their nickel or dime defense, what was their front? Their front was 2 interior defensive linemen playing as 4-eye techniques, which is just on the inside shoulder of the tackles. And the edge rushers were lined up way outside. So they're already lined up out wide anyway, whether there's 3 defensive linemen between them or only 2. They're lined up out wide anyway. They're playing a 4-man front at that point. So there are different ways that you can, and again, this is what I want to see from Patrick Graham. You can go back and you can watch Raiders tape. You can go back and you can watch any of the tape from whenever he was coaching under Brian Flores with the Dolphins or Steve Spagnuolo with the Giants or anything. Well, he wasn't a coordinator then, but still, you can go back and watch any of that stuff. That's not the Steelers situation. He adapted. He changed his front with the Raiders because Max Crosby was a better fit to be a 4-3 end than to be a 3-4 outside linebacker.
I see where you're going.
So, if you don't have yourself a true nose tackle, why be all right, well, Ben's honestly, probably the best fit for it. So
I honestly feel like it's just something that's the edge rushers have had since the very beginning. I don't think you're going to totally turn the playbook upside down on a TJ Watt or, for that matter, an Alex Highsmith and even a Nick Herbig. I don't think you're going to see them do that. I don't think you're going to see them even consider it. I do think you're right, though, and I do think it makes them, not just theoretically, but in practice, easier to run against.
The other thing that I'm also thinking of, and I'm kind of thinking this up, if you see smoke coming out of my ears, I also wonder, okay, there were certain times Keanu Benton looked really good, like we said, looked really, really good, usually as a pass rusher, not in terms of run.
Almost always as a pass rusher.
But he still had some good moments where he was at least wreaking havoc. Even if he wasn't the one to get in the backfield and make the tackle, he was at least taking up space. But were there times where they were just asking him to just be, hey,
yes,
this specific time, we just need you to eat up space?
The answer to that is a yes.
So why?
Why? That never made sense.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Terrell Austin even said this himself. I've asked him, how has the nose tackle changed over the last 20, 30 years? And he's like, well, before it used to just be, you just eat up as much space as you can. And that's not like that anymore. Guys have to be more mobile. Guys have to be willing to play more techniques, be able to do more things. Okay, so if that's the case, then have them do more things and have them wreak havoc in different ways outside of having certain calls in which you're like, hey, on this one, we just need you to be an old school space eater. Well, if you're ever asking Keanu Benton to do that, that's not his game.
All right.
So don't ask him to do that. Find a different way to weaponize the nose tackle in 2026, as opposed to, hey, on this play, be a 2000 nose tackle, be an old school Casey Hampton. Like that's not Keanu Benton's game. It's not even YA Black's game. He's too big. He's too tall for that.
We're gonna take a couple more here today. Bendy says, why has no one asked Mike McCarthy his plan to get Will Howard into the Hall of Fame? Because we're afraid to ask the tough questions.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a tough question.
That is a tough question.
You like that one?
That's a good one.
Our friend LeBong James, who's in here every day, has a contribution as well. A couple bucks, says, I'm available for cynical fan coordinator. I don't know, man. I kind of thought that was our job here.
That's funny.
We deal with all very, very, very different types of fans, to say the least. And even then, if it's the same fans, they can come in very, very, very different moods. It's a boy says Steelers request an interview with the Saints tight ends coach Chase Hazlitt.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, I have.
But I mean, again, like all of this stuff it's noise. It doesn't mean that it's not true. It's noise.
Yeah, it's just stuff. Soon enough, you're going to have this entire staff. And again, the last big hire, and it has not happened, is an offensive coordinator, and we'll see how that plays out. Well, here
it would make sense if they're interviewing Chase Hazlitt. Chase Hazlitt also coached under McCarthy, also coached with Tolzien.
By the way, there's your pattern so far, if you're looking for it, and don't hold that against the coach. I'm gonna make this point emphatically here. There were a lot of things about Mike Tomlin's tenure that are going to get criticized for years to come. One of the things about Tomlin that really stood out for me when it came to shaping his staff, he valued one intangible trait above all others, and that was loyalty. He needed to know that those guys were in on him, and that in every environment across that campus, whether it's Latrobe or the South Side, or heaven help us, Sunday over at the stadium, that they had his back, that they weren't doing this when he turned around. So the only way to ever develop trust with anybody is to get to know them.
Yep.
So I don't fault McCarthy for, oh, yeah, well, he has some kind of connection with McCarthy. So it's some reuniting of the old boys network or something. You got to have people you trust.
Yeah, and also, especially when you go to McCarthy's time in Dallas, let's not forget about the fact that they went 12-5 3 straight seasons under McCarthy. And that offense was humming in multiple seasons in which Tolzien and Hazlitt were both under McCarthy. So let's not forget about that. Let's not just assume, oh, McCarthy only wants to get his guys. Well, sometimes his guys, including like this decade, have been part of some really good offenses and been coached some really good offenses. So if Tolzien does end up being the offensive coordinator and Hazlitt does end up joining the staff as well, especially as some sort of position coach / pass game coordinator, well, again, there's familiarity there.
Yeah.
When you talk about the hierarchy of Mike McCarthy overall offensive mind, Scott Tolzien being the offensive coordinator, being the first guy under him to have everything else run, and then you have somebody like Chase Hazlitt, son of former Steelers defensive coordinator Jim Hazlitt, who You have late 90s.
Okay.
Jim Haslett was defense coordinator late 90s. Those before he became head coach of the Saints.
Yep.
You have this hierarchy, and they all know each other already. You don't have to worry about, and again, familiarity in an offense that worked, in an offense that produced, in an offense that put up points. Now, were there things that offense can improve on? Sure.
Yep.
Absolutely. And you would hope that McCarthy's learned some lessons in this time away from the
Mike Bichetti says this question might be too early, but what position in the draft is flying under the radar? It is kind of early for that, but
it is.
The
combine's probably where you start to kind of see that start to take off a little bit, which is only 3 weeks away. I'm leaving in 3 weeks for the combine already. It's crazy how fast the offseason moves. It's crazy.
Mr. Snowman says if Isaac Seumalo leaves for free agency, any interest in trying Broad at left guard?
I have not heard anything about that.
I have never once heard anybody internally, including Broad, I should say, ever broach the concept of a move to guard. Might Broad be interested in that after, not having necessarily, become a superstar at left tackle? Might he look at the way things are with Dylan Cook, try to expand his horizons a little bit? I don't want to make left guard sound like it's, kindergarten compared to graduate school. But it is a simpler position, obviously, that involves less. This sounds like an insult. I didn't mean it to. Less athleticism. He's got athleticism for his size. He's just a monster.
Well, the one thing, and this was kind of a thing about Troy Fautanu when he was coming out of college, there were certain parts of like his makeup and everything that were like, okay, well, if he doesn't work out as a tackle, he could go and be an all-pro at guard.
Yes.
Right. But now
you just see that in watching him.
Right. Now Fautanu has shown everybody he can play tackle in the NFL. I mean, he's shown that. Now, again, don't let the wild card game be the last memory of like what you saw in 2025 or be because that was the last thing you saw. Don't let that be like indicative of how he actually played in 2025.
Troy?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
He had a really good season. He had a bad game
he did not have a good
to end the season, but first full season of playing right tackle in the NFL, he passed everything with flying colors. But Broderick Jones, listen, he's more than athletic enough to play the position. But I don't know. Listen, it's kind of the same thing. Like if you can't teach him to play one position and then he's going to be starting from scratch at something else, I don't know.
TJ says Phillip Rivers has 3 kids in the draft. That's actually very funny.
I don't know if he actually does or not.
Doesn't Rivers have like 10 kids or something?
He has more than that.
Huh?
I think he has more than that.
He has more than 10?
I think he has more than 10.
Man, Phil Rivers.
There have been some really funny jokes about.
There's some great Phil Rivers jokes. When you've ever seen him get roasted? Like actually roasted. They're great.
I can't say it on here, but man,
no.
Oh my gosh, just go like look up tweets about Phillip Rivers being considered for the Bills head coach job and then not being considered anymore. There's some really funny jokes about that. I can't.
I want to know.
I have to tell you after we're off the air.
All right. Mike says that Broad is lazy. He's not. Takes plays off. He doesn't hold blocks as long as he should. That is accurate. He has what can safely be described as Chuk's Okorafor disease. These guys grew up being able to execute their blocks with just a solitary shove because they were so monstrous and everything else, and that from there they could just adjust. Not in the NFL. And it has cost Chuk's, and it is costing Broad. It's I think, a lack of understanding of what it is that they need to do at this level, how hard this level is. Is he cooked, as Tommy says? I'm not buying that. Broad just doesn't finish. That's the technical term. That is the offensive line term. He doesn't finish the sequence. He is not He just doesn't have a lazy bone in his body. He really doesn't.
It's not that he's lazy. Listen, I described this in my Drew Aller scouting report. When players are really, really athletic, they can get away with a lot. When you are the 5-star guy in high school, you can get away with a lot of stuff using poor technique because you're just better than everybody by a wide margin. Yeah. Same thing in college. Those guys can go and they can, like I used Drew Aller, for example. There were plenty of times where he escaped where he probably shouldn't have, but he did. And he got away with it because he's just athletic and he can move and that's just what he's used to doing. And he kept getting away with it. When you are an offensive lineman and you're really super athletic and you're big and you're long and you have all the traits desirable to be a prototypical left tackle and your technique sucks, you can get away with it at the high school level, definitely. And you can get away with it at the college level because technique isn't as required at the college level. It is the NFL level. You have to be super, super, super special to get away with some improper stuff like Aaron Rodgers' footwork. Aaron Rodgers has been able to get away with his footwork for 21 years because he has one of the greatest arms ever.
Yeah.
You don't have to have perfect footwork.
Scale of arm talent and different ways he can throw the football, release it, underhand, sidearm, you name it.
But that's not broad when it comes to he's not God's gift to left tackles.
No.
He's got some great traits.
I will say this, though, and this might be a thing for another day here because we're wrapping up today. With a new offensive line coach and a new coordinator and a new head coach, I would not be surprised. This is not based on information here. This is just me surmising something here. If the Steelers put themselves into a spot where Dylan Cook and Broad would compete for starting left tackle. In other words, that they would look at what Cook did in 2025. They would study it. They would put together data on it, film everything
James
else.
Campbell's probably already doing that. Yeah.
But they would also tell him, hey, you did it for a handful of games.
Right.
And we don't know what that would mean if, for example, you were to log all 17. Do you follow? What happens when you wear down? You showed up there fresh in the middle of the season against guys who'd been, you see what I'm saying here? Where they challenge Cook as opposed to just handing him the job. I can tell you this, and this actually is reporting. Cook expects nothing to be handed to him.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay, meaning that specifically, this summer and everything else, he expects nothing to be handed to him. He's been around the block. He has been the forgotten guy. He's actually way more used to that scenario than he is the other one. So don't presume that either Broad or something else at left tackle is out of the question. Guys, we appreciate having you here. We appreciate today in particular. Really good questions.
Yeah. It was a great discussion today.
We don't say that all that often, so it's not like pandering or something.
Well, we also only had one Will Howard question, so that's probably why.
Yeah, but even that came with $5, so we took it.
Exactly. And we put it on the screen and everything. And also,
we just put it back on the screen.
Not one mention of another player that always comes up on this show too.
You noticed that.
Yeah,
noticed that.
We just happened to have a good conversation.
What amount of money would it take for us to get us to put the obligatory question regarding a certain other athlete onto the screen?
Wandering Warrior takes care of it at the 54-minute mark.
There's no money there. You get that off the screen. He doesn't get that. If you want Roman Wilson questions from now on, you got to pay on this show. We need to see some dinero. No money there from Jeff Cannot Dance. You know what else we didn't get today? We also didn't get the obligatory $20 for
Jaylen Warren.
Jaylen Warren being a DOG. Don't worry, Jaylen. I got your back here.
He's going to have a new running backs coach now.
Oh yeah, not a good day for Jalen. Jalen and Eddie Faulkner, very very tight.
Yeah. I hope Eddie gets a really good job, man. He's a really good coach. He's a really good coach.
Yeah, I guess he wants his own people, and I can't be a hypocrite about it and say, well, I understand why he'd value, and then at the same time say I don't understand why.
But
he
again,
wouldn't keep somebody else's coaches.
But again, like
they kept Tom Arth.
Yeah, but if they want to do a whole new running scheme, it makes sense to go with a new coach. It does. I'm not saying that Eddie Faulkner wouldn't
have been able to do that,
right? But if McCarthy has a specific way he wants to have the run game go, and he feels like a specific person's voice,
no, I get it,
is what he needs to get through to the running backs, and that's what he's going to do. It's probably not anything where he sees what Eddie Faulkner's done. He's been like, I don't give a crap about that. Like it probably has something to do with just this is the way we were going to want to run the ball, and I need this specific voice to do it. Yeah,
no, Eddie leaving doesn't signal the end of Kenny G in Pittsburgh. Yes, they were close. All three of the running backs
that room was tight. Yeah,
by Faulkner.
Yeah,
those three individuals, and notice I'm including very much so Caleb Johnson.
Yes,
all were tight. Mm-hmm. All supported each other. That includes the kid. Kenny's going to go where he's paid. He's a running back.
Oh yeah.
Kenny's going to go where he's paid. He's got one chance.
Yeah,
one chance to get paid. This is quite literally the contract of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is that happens to be, he's a running back,
and he proved that this year. He proved that he's not just good enough to be Saquon Barkley's backup, where he gets barely looked at for anything. Oh, look at Jared
Kraft comes in with $2 for Roman Wilson. Look at this. Look at this. This is all you think Roman Wilson is worth. Look what I dropped for Jalen Warren. You come in with $2 for Roman Wilson. That's all you had. Way to tell on yourself over there.
That probably goes to show the value of Jalen Warren versus Roman Wilson to the Steelers roster as well, by the way.
Guys. All right, we're going to call this one a day here because you're starting to get ridiculous here. We'll see everybody tomorrow at 4 p.m. with another double shot of Steelers. Chris and I are heading up tonight. 11-minute walk in that direction for Penguins versus Senators. And we'll have football back on our minds tomorrow.